Hi everyone, my name is Sonia. I'm one of the puppy trainers here at the Gawler Animal Hospital. We've done our best to create an online version of our usual puppy class, so you can still receive some guidance while we're going through these social distancing times. So we're just going to start with a short information note. As well as being a vet nurse, I am also a Delta qualified dog behaviour trainer. Once we are finally able to run puppy classes again, you may also meet Tracy. She is also a Delta qualified dog behaviour trainer and a great asset to our team. Although you are unable to attend puppy classes at the moment, there is still a lot you can do to help socialise your puppy. Apart from interacting or being around other dogs, socialisation is so much more. It is about guiding our puppies to become familiar and comfortable with many things, different sights, sounds, smells, and noises. Think about all the things you can be doing at home. Having them comfortable with the vacuum cleaner, wheelie bin, noises in the kitchen, dressing up the family in hats, fluoro shirts, using umbrellas, helping them to be aware of skateboards, push bikes. The list can go on. To achieve this, you need to pair these things with something pleasurable so they can learn this isn't something to be worried about, but instead something normal that shouldn't cause any concern. If you are looking for different sounds, I've put a link in your first week's notes for a sound app that you can get on your phone. During this course, we'll be working on achieving some basic manners. We will also be looking at how we can achieve more calm and settled behaviours from our puppies and how we can best promote this. I will also be covering off and discussing some common and unwanted behaviours and how we can problem solve these. So let's first talk why we train. For me, training is about putting some words or hand signals on cue so we can speak a common language with our dogs. I guess we can all agree we are two different species that are trying to live together in harmony. What is normal for us is not always normal for dogs and vice versa. For example, jumping up, mouthing, eating disgusting things, all normal behaviours for our dogs, but often things as humans we don't enjoy. But also think about it from the dog's point of view. We have 2 hands and 2 legs versus a dog who is on all 4s. They can find us a bit grabby and handsy, which can make them feel uncomfortable or frustrated when we hold them or prevent them from doing what they want. Also, sometimes our expectations can be too high. All because we have told them once doesn't mean they already know. Learning is a process. We need to be consistent with our rules and teach them how to live in our world. For example, they won't learn not to toilet inside unless we take the time to teach them to go outside. Okay, so when we are looking at training, it's a good idea to understand how our dogs learn. We know that what gets reinforced gets repeated. So that can be a good thing or something not so great. For example, you may have already started asking your dog to sit before putting their food bowl down. Now they are starting to pair the food bowl with sitting down to get their food. Great, this is a behaviour we like. It is being repeated because the dog finds it reinforcing. But I want you to also think about any of the behaviours your puppy is repeating that you don't enjoy. Are you accidentally giving attention to this behaviour? Creating it to be repeated. It is easily done. Jumping up or stealing objects is a big one for this. They go into your room, they take an object, you chase them around the house because you don't want them to chew and destroy it. Guess what? You accidentally reinforce that. Or is it your puppy getting self-reinforced by some of their behaviours? Barking at dogs or people going by the house? Now those people or dogs have gone away. Chasing the cat or the chickens? It's just like a soft toy that moves. These are all things we need to think about if we're going to change any unwanted behaviours around. This is why you will often hear this saying, ignore the unwanted behaviour and reward the good. A behaviour is unlikely to be repeated unless the dog finds it reinforcing. Therefore, teaching our puppies a different response or helping them to become more comfortable in certain situations, and maybe sometimes adding management into the mix to help stop the practice of unwanted behaviours, are all things we can do. This will turn unwanted behaviours into more appropriate behaviours. We also want to look at body language. It will help if you get better at reading dog body language. That is their primary way of communicating. Their body language tells us when they are happy, overstimulated, scared, or worried. Not only will this help you to understand how they are feeling, but will also allow you to read certain situations so behaviours aren't a sudden surprise. Are they enjoying being around that other dog? Are those children too loud? Does your dog want a pat from the stranger in the hat, or would they prefer just to stay away? We also know through studies that dogs use their sense of smell to get information. We can use that to our advantage to enrich their lives and help with relaxation. Allowing your puppies opportunities to sniff around when going for walks can be very relaxing. It's mentally stimulating. To them, it's just like reading a book and seeking information. We will be playing a little training game in class called Find It, that we can use as a training strategy in certain situations also. Another thing we need to remember, just like us, stress inhibits their learning. That is why when training, you want to start at home where they are more relaxed and comfortable before trying it down the park or somewhere else. If your puppy is usually very responsive to your cues, but they don't seem to be listening now, what is going on in the environment? Is something overstimulating or causing concern? Also, when training, think about your tones. Are you calm, friendly, inviting and patient, or are you loud, firm and a little bit scary? We know dogs love predictability and routine, so try and be consistent with your responses and expectation. Sometimes our rules can be a bit wishy-washy and that sets us up to fail. I want you to also remember we control everything. When our dog eats, if they have water, shelter, when they can go for a walk. So there are two things I allow my dogs to have as a choice. When they need time out or rest and they have put themselves in their bed or crate, which I call their safe zone, everyone must leave them alone. The family knows this and guests coming over. The other is whether they want to interact with someone or be patted. I never force it. It's completely up to them. Sometimes they just want to sniff and seek information. I want to talk a little bit about punishment as well. Regardless of whether you use punishment or reward when training your dog, you have half a second to do so. That is not a lot of time. So instead, when using punishment, we can accidentally create some other problems for ourselves. Our puppies can learn poor associations. That means they don't always pair what you are punishing for as a reason why something unpleasant occurred. For example, citronella collars are meant to squirt the dog in the face if they bark. But instead of the dog pairing barking to this, they may pair the other dog or a person walking by as the reason why they got punishment. Now they don't like dogs or people anymore. We naturally, as humans, can be a bit unpredictable with our responses. For example, jumping up. Sometimes we'll allow this to happen because we are happy. And sometimes we have good clothes on and we'll get cross if it occurs. Our dogs don't understand the difference. A more sensitive dog may become unsure of what to expect from us. If this happens often enough, we may be starting to create fear or concern in our dogs. And I guess the big one for me is punishment is a reactive style of training. They have to make a mistake before receiving any guidance from us. Is that really fair? So what can we do instead? Positive reinforcement is scientific and evidence-based that you can use on any animal. It is the most effective style of training, and even better, it causes no harm. They already use it in zoos and animal parks for husbandry training. No need to sedate the animals for everything. Instead, they can train the animal to accept injections, have their teeth brushed, nails trimmed, etc. They do this because it's choice. They are not being forced or manhandled. They are just using reward for good choices. So let us all learn from this. Positive reinforcement training will help form a trusting human-animal bond, which is what we all want, right? It is about being proactive. You are going to be guiding and teaching your puppy in a healthy manner that will benefit you all. And the great thing is, anyone can do it, even the kids, because it's fun. Your puppies are going to make mistakes, and guess what? You are going to as well. But that's okay. We just get to try again. So now we have all this information. Let's start putting it all together. Firstly, we need to know what your dogs find reinforcing. Only they can make that choice. Is it food, toys, praise, patting? Then we can start to grade them into levels. Use the heavy reinforcers for hard things like don't jump on the guests or get a good come when called. And the milder reinforcers like their normal dry food for achieving simpler tasks around the home. Using food reward is not about bribing or creating chubby puppies. It is about using their food allocation for the day to help fast-track training and guiding them to make better choices around unwanted behaviours. Just remember your puppies are learning. If you want them to behave in a certain way, we need to teach them this. So try and be as proactive as possible. Set them up to succeed instead of waiting for them to make a mistake before you do something about it. If you are unable to be proactive and an unwanted behaviour occurs, then interrupt the behaviour as soon as possible, but the key is you need to redirect it as well. This is critical. If you don't redirect them, they will often go back to the behaviour you just interrupted, causing a vicious circle. For example, if my dog is barking the horse fence line, I call her name to interrupt her. She comes up to the house. I will ask her to stay with me or do some focus exercises until she starts to settle down. Or I could ask her to come inside or go to her bed. So as you can see, I'm now redirecting her behaviour. I want you to try and be careful of your nose and her arse. They can start to turn into nothing words if you're using them all the time, but also they don't give our dogs instruction. Training is about putting words on cue so you're able to speak a common language. Instead, use down, off, leave it, come here. But we need to train those words first. Management can be very helpful, especially during the puppy stages. It is a good way to prevent them from practicing unwanted behaviours, especially when you are not home. So that means don't leave food on the counter if they can reach it. Shut bedrooms' doors if they are prone to stealing objects. Put shoes in containers if you have shoes lying around outside. The list can go on. Training should also be about fun. No need for long training sessions. Instead, think about your day-to-day life as a training opportunity. It is suggested no more than 3 to 5 repetitions of one thing and then move on. This way you can practice a name response while doing the dishes or in an ad break. And lastly, I just want to talk about timing. Timing is also huge when it comes to training. As we mentioned before, we have half a second to tell our dog they've done something right. This can be very difficult if you are fumbling around with your reward. By the time you deliver the food, they may be walking away or looking in another direction. This is why we use something called a bridge or a marking word instead when training. You may have heard of people using clickers when training. This is the same thing. In class, I will be encouraging you to use a verbal bridge. Suggested words are yes, yip, yep, okay. They're all good. But you are welcome to use a clicker as well. You will be using your bridge word when you are training with your food reward or any other heavy reinforcer, as it will mean promise of reward. This way the food will start to become a secondary and the word or the clicker is the exciting thing for your dog. This will help tremendously with your timing, as you will find it really easy to say the word at the exact time you see a wanted behaviour. Sit, yes, then go and deliver the food. It will also encourage your dog to focus and slow down a bit as they'll be waiting for the food delivery. This way you'll be able to get your food away into treat pouches and pockets and away from your dog's prying eyes. You will also be making sure the reward is for good behaviour because it comes after the action instead of it being in your hand and being used as a bribe. So that finishes our information night. Now all that is left to do is let's get training. Thank you for your time.